Guys, today's gonna be a pickup pile reading, and it's gonna be who took you for granted. I'm gonna try and make this as quick as possible. We're using the Tarot del Toro today, of course. First pile is gonna be this Evil Eye bracelet, protection bracelet. Second pile is gonna be this potion bottle, love spell potion bottle, and it has a fairy etching on the front. And the third pile is going to be these astrology dice, which I will use in the reading. Alright, pile 1, you chose this Evil Eye bracelet. You might need to be more protective of your feminine side right now, and use your masculine side to sort of protect yourself right now, because this energy I'm feeling is like, at the moment that you're watching this, there is a lot of scrutiny in terms of evil eye and negative energy projections on your feminine side and the sort of more receiving side of you. More receptive, more intuitive, your divine feminine. But let's make this as quick as possible, Spirit. All the major, any major times that pile 1 was taken for granted, who exactly were these people who majorly took pile 1 for granted? We have the Ballet of Discs. We have Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn here. Strong Taurus energy, emphasis on the Taurus energy. Taurus moon. Someone might have a Taurus moon. We have 8 of Wands. So if you know somebody who talked a lot of shit, or you know that you know they specifically talked a lot of shit, or they just were super all up in your business, really, and just always speaking without thinking, this person was definitely taking you for granted. This could be a fire sign, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. I'm feeling Sagittarius strongly for some of you, a Sagittarius romantic partner. Give me one more card for who majorly took my pile 1 for granted. Who took my pile 1 for granted? 3 of Wands. So again, we have some fire sign energy here. This is gonna be like fire rising or fire Venus sign, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. But let's break this down. I'm gonna go ahead and say that these people who took you for granted still receive karma for it. It like affects their work life and their social life, like trying to make friends. They'll often self-doubt themselves because of how they treated you. I'm also seeing that, like, maybe some of these people tried to put on this, like, shell, like, of badassery. They're, like super being tough, but on the inside, like, it's just cogs in the machine is what I'm hearing. Like, they aren't actually... like they're working towards an end goal by putting on this persona of toughness and bravery and strength. This could have been this Sagittarius energy here who was like thinking that because they could put on this persona that it made them better than other people because nobody else would do the dirty work the same way that they would and put on a tough persona for everybody else, I guess you could say. But anyway, let's see. A person who took you for granted is a person from the past who you lived with, or you let them live with you. This could have been a parent, so they were in the same house as you, or this could have been somebody you let live in your house for a short amount of time. Or this could even mean that they had access to your house, like y'all had sleepovers with each other, but it was for more than just a short amount of time, like that they were in your house. Like these were people who had access to your living space and could have stayed in your living space for more than a long time. These people didn't realize how much you were giving to them and how much they relied on your stability, how much they counted on it, really, to do anything. And then when they lost that, it's sort of like they lost the key to everything. Like, they probably blamed you for this. Like, they probably thought that you were supposed to be their source of stability, or whatever. And so when you pulled away from that, they became super angry and blamed you, and thought that you were the center of the reason everything was wrong, and that you were the reason that they were having to defend themselves and protect themselves from being hurt, when in reality it was just their own trauma wounds that were causing them to make these strange assumptions, that you were doing this with, that you were pulling away to protect yourself as an act of deliberate maliciousness, when in reality you were just taking away the stability of which they were taking for granted, and taking and not giving anything back. For some of you, this was supposed to be a male figure in your life, like somebody you trusted. This could have been like a father figure or a romantic partner who you at first thought was very strong, was very this person could be well built, or just like look like a strong person, but on the inside they're actually quite weak, and they rely on a lot of different events in their life to bring them confidence. Like they rely on a lot of different external things to reassure themselves that they have this strength. What was messed up about this is, like, these people who you let into your home, who you let stay for a sleepover for a couple days, or maybe you even let them stay like in your house for like a couple months, are these people who were living in the same home as you and supposed to be like having a good dynamic with you, and like having a healthy dynamic with you, like parents. These people were acting like you are the liability. Like you were extending this kindness to let them stay in your house, but the whole time they were like seeing you as like less worthy than them, or seeing you as like someone who is greedy or like takes a lot, and this was projections. And then if this was like a parental figure, these people were seeing you as a liability when they were meant to see you as someone they're supposed to take care of, like a student. But they expected you to be something you just weren't at, like, I don't know. It's like, if this is parents that it aligns with you, these are the type of parents who like act super tough, put on all of this persona, overwork themselves, overdo everything, and then expect everybody to do the same thing. You know what I mean? Like they expect everybody else to, and if they're not, then they see them as weak. And so they expected you to have the same energy of constantly overworking yourself, constantly doing things that were beyond you, constantly overextending yourself just because they did it. And they see that as a strength, when it's really a weakness. It's like their biggest weakness, and it is just a mask for all the weaknesses and insecurities inside them of feeling like they can't do or have enough. and they were blaming that weakness and insecurity within themselves on you. So if it's parents, they were just blaming their own weakness and insecurity and like feeling that you needed to be a certain way on you and making it your fault and like putting the sort of stress of that onto you, when it was their own fault that they were overworking themselves, overextending themselves, doing all of that. But they were mad at you because you weren't doing the same thing, so obviously it must be your fault. When you're just trying to be normal and not like overdo yourself, like not try to extend yourself past your own boundaries because you know you don't have the capacity for that in the long run. But these parental figures just didn't see it that way. As for the people who, you know, let them into your home, and, you know, maybe they could have been friends or something, or like this could have been a partner, they were the type of person to take, you know, or to just rely on somebody else for stability. And so they got comfortable with you letting them come over, letting them eat your food, letting them come over as a shoulder to cry on, for a shoulder to cry on from you. And it's like the whole time they were seeing you as the one who is greedy, as the one who is taking, as the one who always, you know, or they could have been like, oh, pile one has so much, pile one is so privileged, they should just give to me because they have way too much for themselves, so they're a selfish person, so they should be giving to me because I'm poor, I'm needy, I'm in need, I'm one of those desperate victims who always need somebody else to help them. And I don't know, these people, the parent facet of this, the parents who I was talking about, they didn't realize they took you for granted because it's like when you separated yourself from them, or when you started like putting boundaries up, or even just being like, no, I'm not gonna be like you, it kind of like ruined one of their sources of validation, which was they would sort of use how hard they were being on you as a validation for themselves that they were doing good as a parent. And so when you pushed that away and were like, no, I'm just not going to do that no matter how hard you push me, it sort of took away one of their sources of validation that they perceived within themselves. And it was actually more of a major validation point than they thought. So yeah, some of these parents could have reacted very strongly and angrily and been very explosive, and some of these other parents probably completely fell apart and were just like acting like a complete victim, and all of their insecurities started showing, and all of their weaknesses of that they always hide behind this big persona started showing. And then as for these friends or partners that you let into your life but they were secretly being greedy, they were actually like acting the whole time like they were a healthy person. What's messed up about this is if they were your friend or they were your partner, they were acting the whole time that they had like, that they were stable within themselves, that they were healthy and ready for a relationship. They were pretending, and they knew they were pretending. And they almost blamed you for it. They were like, I have to pretend like I'm a healthy person just because pile one's a healthy person and they're helping me out. I have to pretend to be someone I'm not. And so like when you finally realized that like the actions they were doing was because they weren't actually a healthy person and they were relying on your energy, you could see past their like mask, you know? And I don't know. I'm feeling like they, at this point, they realized they were in over their heads. Like when they realized that you realized that they were putting on a mask and that they weren't actually a healthy person, they were just taking from you. They probably fell apart and just started showing their true colors, honestly. Started showing how insecure and weak they are. Even though the fact that they were blaming you for it and acting like it was like your fault for like being a good person, you know, and helping them out, and that it was just your own fault because, you know, you obviously have it easy because you're able to be such a good person. So they didn't even see your side of it at all. They were just victimizing themselves, being like, oh, I have to act like I'm a good person. I have to act healthy. I have to act like a good friend or a good partner to this person just to get what I want out of them. And it's like walking away from that, or now that they no longer have that access to you, now that they no longer have the key to get into like your world. What's funny about this is they can't put on this mask anymore. Like, anyone they go to ends up seeing straight through their mask. Anytime they try to recreate this karmic cycle with someone else, everybody can just easily see their insecurities and weaknesses, and it doesn't happen. And these people are realizing they take you for granted because they're going around looking for a replacement for you. And nobody's giving them the time of day. And they're realizing that like the only person who was giving them the time of day was you. And the only person who was like continuously like giving them a second chance, giving them energy, whatever it is that you were giving them, you were the only person who was willing to do that. And then after y'all got separated, it stopped. They stopped being able to get that as easily as they did before. And so they felt like they lost it when they lost you. So these people are realizing they took you for granted by realizing they were using you in the first place and that they relied on your energy. And it's funny because they're like, I had all this free energy. This person was giving me all of their time and money or whatever else that you were giving them, and I took it for granted, and now I don't have those things anymore. Because it's like they were using those things that you were giving them to feel stronger, to feel like they were more of a good person, to feel like they were actually healthy, because they could just take from you. But as soon as you took that away, they felt super insecure. They started showing their true colors of like being insecure and unhealthy, and they just couldn't do it anymore. They were so upset by the fact that, I don't know, they just wish they could take it all back and like make it so it never happened, because they miss being able to just manipulate and use somebody, or even not even manipulate, but just be codependent upon somebody. But like karmically, it's not working for them anymore because they're karmically attached to you in that manner, because they're still projecting onto you the idea that it's your fault that they stopped being able to use other people, and that their insecurities are at an all-time high because they thought they were becoming a healthier person when they were using you and taking your energy. And then when your energy went away, all of their unhealthiness and insecurity started like bursting out and showing at like way higher levels. And they started getting into all these bad situations that they caused themselves. And so they're like, oh, I'm having such a hard time now because I took Pawan for granted. If I hadn't done what I did, I would still have their energy. I would still have access to everything they would give me. And it's like, these people only saw you as like either a money cow, somebody they could take money, food, water, shelter from, or they saw you as a partner that would serve them, basically. They saw you as, you were supposed to be constantly serving them as a partner, constantly giving them emotional validation, constantly reading their mind and knowing exactly what they want. And when you didn't do that, when you just couldn't no longer give that energy into the relationship because you had already given everything you had, they were upset by it. They were like, you're not putting energy into this relationship. You don't care about this relationship at all. Meanwhile, they weren't putting any energy back into this relationship. They were just expecting all of it from you. And this could be the same for the parents as well, is that like these parents would constantly take energy, acting like they're the ones giving energy, the ones that are overgiving, when in reality they're just taking from you. And then upon separation or upon boundaries being made, these same parents are like, where did all my energy go? Where did like, what's happening here? It's like they don't have the capacity to understand that they were using you to the point where they completely relied on your reaction or whatever energy you would put into the situation. And so these are just false people. These are people wearing a false mask of strength and healthiness to hide their insecurities for malicious reasons. Like, they were deliberately hiding their own unhealthiness to deliberately protect their own asses from being found out that they were actually an insecure and unhealthy person. They relied on everybody else in their lives. And so again, these people can't find any other victims after they've separated from you. They just can't find it. They're searching everywhere for that and they can't find it. And they're only being faced with their own self and their own insecurities, and it's driving them crazy because they're constantly on the defense, constantly in victim mode, constantly like, oh, I'm so weak. I have all of these insecurities within myself and I can't survive in this mean world and I can't even find a victim to use and manipulate. And it's just like, every time they go back into that victim mindset of being like, what can I even do? Everything's so bad for me. They think about you and they think about how they took you for granted or how you owed them that energy, but now they no longer have access to you because you put boundaries down. And I don't know. They never stop thinking about it. They never stop thinking about it because I keep droning on and on about this, but it's like they never stop thinking about it, and they associate you no longer giving them that energy with their insecurity in the first place of like needing your energy. And so they just keep going in a loop in their minds of like, what's wrong with them? It has to be something to do with pile one. It has to be something to do with pile one. But it's like, it is something to do with pile one. It's the fact that you kept fucking taking from pile one. You kept fucking just more and more and more. Even when it got to a certain point where it was like super bad, they just kept going. They didn't even care. They were just like, "Ooh, let's cross the line right over because for my needs, I need this. Like, my needs need to be met." And so it's like, goddamn. This was meant to be a fucking short reading, bro, and I've only fucking finished one card's energy. Who took you for granted? This fire sign or fire sign energy who's talking a lot of shit. This is someone who is supposed to be your friend. You confided in them a lot. You talked to them a lot about stuff, and then you realized later on that they were going behind your back and telling the people who you most didn't want to know those things. Like they were putting you in a vulnerable position by going behind your back and saying the things that you told them in confidence and like, I need somebody to talk to, I need somebody to vent to, and they were going behind your back with that stuff. This is the type of person who just likes the drama, likes having the attention of people being like, oh, what do you know about so-and-so? Tell me what you know. Tell me what you heard. And they like the attention of like telling everybody else's business. And what's funny about this energy is that this person's words turned against them. And this almost always happens with somebody who's like addicted to drama, addicted to rumors and talking shit. But it's like, this person realized they took you for granted when their words turned against them. When basically they started becoming the own scapegoat of the same shit that they, like, the type of shit that they would do and spread other people's shit. They became the scapegoat. They became the victim of those same words that they had put out there. And they can't take it back because it's part of their reputation now. And since they had a habit of telling everybody and their fucking mama knew that this person is just a fucking drama queen who talks a bunch of shit. Which is the most thing that they didn't want anybody to know. is that person was secretly fake, and just in it for the drama. They didn't actually care about anybody involved or letting anybody know important details. They just cared about the attention and the drama of it, like feeling the exhilaration or whatever. And what's funny about this is now that everybody's turned against them, now that everybody's like, we don't fucking care what you have to say, you just like to fucking talk shit and spread rumor. You're probably gonna go tell somebody else what I tell you, so I don't want to fucking talk to you about anything important. So anybody that still does talk to this person only engages in things like small talk and like nothing substantial. And this person is realizing like you were one of their only friends. You, pile one, were one of the people who would go to them in confidence and be like, hey, like, let's talk about this. You're the only person who understands these types of things. And now they're fucking upset because like you were their only friends, but they were the ones who they were the one who backstabbed you and sabotaged you. Like, I don't know why they're upset about that, but they realize they took you for granted in that way. They just only care now that it affects them, now that their rumors are affecting them. That's when they care about how they took you for granted, not only as a friend, but as somebody who they could talk to, who they could confide in, because you are equal give and take, pile one. As much as you would confide in this person, you would let them confide to you. And this person sort of relied on you in that way, where they told you a lot of shit. And I don't know. For some of you, this is also a person who could have been your friend, who lashed out on you in anger. Because 8 of Wands is like speaking impulsively, speaking without thinking, just go ahead and taking action. And I'm feeling like someone who's feeling like they took you for granted is somebody who lashed out at you, somebody you trusted and you were good friends with or good partners with or good acquaintances with. And they lashed out at you impulsively without really thinking about it. Yeah, they're upset about this because they're realizing that not only was the action impulsive, but they just did it. They just let themselves go off like that so fast that the friendship also immediately fucking fell apart with the same quickness. And it's weird, like this person, it's like they didn't realize the fact that like impulsively putting their anger out like that and not thinking it through would have consequences. And like now that they don't have you in their lives anymore and they can't talk to you about things or whatever it is that they benefited from y'all's friendship, it's like, I don't know. This person is upset because they're realizing that they have a problem with impulsivity, because it's like after they lash out at you, people around them started feeling that same behavior from them. It's like suddenly they stopped being able to control their own anger and impulsivity, and it started showing to their partner, to their parents, to everyone around them, and everyone around them stopped wanting to be around them because this person would just constantly be angry and like, I don't know, just like talking without thinking, and it was just exhausting. Just like constant talking without thinking. I don't know. This person is realizing they took you for granted because they liked having you in their life for whatever reason. They benefited from y'all's friendship, but their impulsive action of anger and rudeness like kind of ruined all of that. It burned it all down. And so, I don't know. It's like for whatever reason they felt the need to lash out at you and thought it was okay to act so impulsively in anger. It ended up being like they ended up realizing later on that like that wasn't worth y'all's friendship. Like that wasn't worth losing y'all's friendship, and it wasn't worth losing whatever they benefited from y'all's friendship, and it really like messed them up. I don't know why, but like I don't know. I feel like this person still likes to victimize themselves and act like it was your fault they were angry in the first place, but the fact that they couldn't control themselves is like the real reason that things went wrong here. And they're just upset because they feel like the thing that they were angry about and that they lashed out about, and that the satisfaction they got in that moment of just impulsively putting their anger onto you, it wasn't worth what y'all's friendship was worth, if that makes sense. Like, it ended up being like something stupid, and they lost something a lot bigger out of that. And so that's why they're feeling like they took you for granted, because they feel like they had something really good with y'all's friendship. They really benefited from y'all's friendship, whether it was work related or otherwise, and then their impulsivity ruined that. Like, it happened so fast, it didn't even, so they're upset about that. They definitely are upset that, like, it just happened so fast and that they couldn't control themselves. I don't know. And they're also upset that it was, like, their anger in the first place that ended it. It's like, maybe they never expected anybody to see that side of them, especially you, Pile 1. They never expected you to see that side of them. And they also never expected you to put boundaries down so fast and be like, and no, I'm going to let you talk to me like that. We're fucking friends. Are you seriously going to talk to me like that? And when they kept being impulsive and not thinking about what they were doing, you were like, no, I'm separating myself from this situation. And you did. And they realized how quickly you just went away from that. And you were like, no, we're no longer having this friendship if this is how you think this friendship is going to go. If this is how you think you're going to treat me inside this friendship. And it just, I don't know. It's like they're upset about that they showed their anger. They never thought that they would actually show it, and that anybody would like see that side of them, or that they wouldn't have control to be able to just like not do it so impulsively and not just like be like snapping at you, They're just upset that they didn't have that control because they lost something major out of it, which was y'all's friendship. So they're really realizing they took you for granted, especially how patient you were with them about that. Like, you tried to be like, hey, we're friends. You shouldn't be talking to me like this. You shouldn't be acting like this. We're friends. We'll work it out together. But they're realizing they took that for granted now about how patient you were being and how like ready you were to give them a second chance to understand their side. And they just completely bulldozed over that with their impulsive anger and their actions towards you. It's messed up. And they really feel like y'all's friendship was valuable, so it's like they don't have access to that anymore. With the Three of Wands here. This is a few different people, some from like way more in the past, some from recently. These tend to be, I feel like these are a little bit more like, it's scattered, like it's different, a lot of different people who did a lot of different things, but it like majorly affected you. Or basically, these were immature people who would just act without thinking of the future. And whatever the relationship was to you, they were treating the relationship with only what they were trying to get out of the relationship at that moment. They were only thinking of right now and what they wanted right now. And they weren't thinking realistically of the long term. Like, they might have been thinking about the long term in terms of the future as of what they wanted right now for the future, but they weren't thinking about how that would actually play out over time. They were just being immature about it. And so this immaturity costed the relationship, and they're realizing they took you for granted because they felt like they had a future with you. This could have been an immature past partner, felt like they had a future with you, but they took you for granted because you were actually willing to like build that stability towards the future, and they were only focused on what they wanted right now, about how they wanted the future to be. Like, oh, I have all these big ideas about what we could do and what this and like that, and they were just being immature about it because they were only thinking about themselves, and they weren't thinking about being an adult and like actually planning it out. They were only being childish and being like acting like it was a game. I don't know. This could have been someone in the workplace. This could have been a partner. For some of you, somebody in the workplace saw you as very valuable, and they tried to like use you really fast to like get a bunch of things done for the future, but they were only thinking about right now. And they weren't thinking about how this would end up playing out, ended up putting strain on you over time. And so when you were no longer able to handle those responsibilities that they didn't plan out maturely, and you left, the whole future that they were imagining kind of fell apart. And it's messed up because, well, they think it's messed up because they took you for granted, and that future that you would have been able to give them for granted, because they weren't actually thinking of the future, they were only thinking about what they wanted in that moment and what they wanted to get out of you in the future in that moment. So it's like they ended up losing the very future that they had imagined so thoroughly and that they were wishing for so thoroughly. And so when I say that they felt like they took you for granted, it felt more like they were taking your potential for granted. And so they don't actually care about you. They just care about the potential that you had to give them what they wanted, whether it's a romantic partner or somebody in the workplace. So yeah, so that's fucked up. I'm also feeling the energy here that if you were trying to help somebody with the stability of their future, like you were giving them advice or something, this could have been a friend or a partner who was struggling to think of a future for themselves because of their current situation, and you were helping them out, they took you for granted. Because whatever, they weren't thinking of the future, basically. They were just thinking about how bad their situation was in the current moment and how hard it was for them, and they weren't actually taking your advice. They were just having a pity party. And so upon losing you, they look back and they feel like they took your advice for granted, which was really solid advice and it really helped them feel more secure. They just didn't plan to actually use that advice and put it into action. They really just wanted to sit and have a pity party and really be sad for themselves, instead of trying to change and make things better for themselves, which you were trying to help them do, because they kept asking for it. They didn't actually want it. They just wanted some sort of like hope for the future or whatever that they could imagine, but not actually put into action. I don't know. So these people feel like they had a future with you because you would give them solid advice and you understood them, whether it's a friendship or a partnership. And then it, like, for whatever reason, it had to be separated, probably because this person was having such a pity party mindset and wasn't being able to move beyond that and take action. And, you know, they feel like they took you for granted in the way that they really valued your advice. They really valued the stability of the advice you would give them and like the logic behind what you would say to make them feel better, because it really helped them more than they thought to imagine hope for the future, to feel like they still had a chance outside of their current situation. And then upon losing you, it's like they were just left with pity party. They didn't have anything else but their own pity party, because they no longer could come up with these ideas themselves of like hope for the future, bringing up chances for the future. And what bothers me about this energy is like, instead of like realizing they took you for granted and deciding to change, this person just fell deeper into their pity party, which honestly they got what they wanted, because when they lost you, they no longer had that, hope or advice they sort of wanted, I guess, because they didn't like that it was taken away once you left. But in reality, they really just wanted to have that hope so they could just pity party even more about themselves. Like, I could have a chance, but my current situation is so bad. Like, oh. So they got what they wanted in the end or whatever. But I'm going to go ahead and end that there. I hope this resonated for some of you guys. I'm sorry that you got taken for granted. You are a really wonderful person, Pile 1. I can tell that you really tried for all these people. So yeah, I love you guys. Someone out there will love you healthily and in a way that you deserve. Pile 1 went way longer than anticipated, so I'm going to try and keep this one short, but I will put in as much time as each read needs. So it's going to be, who took you for granted? Who took my Pile 2 for granted? Oh, this is some strong energy. We have Ace of Wands reversed. So, someone who is a playboy, someone who faked liking you, but they secretly hated you, and then somebody who only wanted you for sex. The Fool. This is somebody childish. It could have been a parental figure who was heavy on the drug abuse, or had an addiction of some sort that they favored over their own bond with their own child and the necessity to raise that child. This could also be an immature person in your life who was a strong friend or partner who let their immaturity ruin the relationship between y'all and let their foolishness overrule their oversight. And the Devil energy here. For a small few of you, this could have been like a genuine energy vampire. But for most of you, this is someone who just came into your life with malicious intent to use you or to keep you chained to something. This could have been in the workplace for some of you. But this is just someone who is a manipulator in general, who only sees other people and their relationships with people as pawns, as ways to get what they want, as ways to further their own agenda, their own power. So, yeah. This could have been somebody who pretended to be a masculine, like a divine masculine, for you, or like to be a dominant person, but really they just wanted to dominate you so that they could use you for dark things. For some of you, this was specifically like dark magic, but for others of you, this is just for their own agenda to make them feel more powerful. They didn't actually care about your pleasure in the relationship. They just wanted to dominate you to have somebody to control. For some of you, this could have been in the workplace, somebody who puts out the shit, who like a fucking asshole, and eats it right back up. Like, it's just an eternal cycle of shit. And this person would specifically seek out people who were naive or who didn't know about this like way of business, that you could be exploited. They would specifically seek out people who weren't part of the shit cycle so they could pull them into the shit cycle. Like, anybody who's not part of this fucking shit show needs to be part of it, because I'm the biggest fucking star around here. Yeah, this person's definitely a narcissist, whoever this Devil energy is, and they were specifically seeking you or your type of person out. Like, this person saw you as naive, vulnerable, or they were able to exploit you in the workplace or in a romantic or sexual relationship. If this was a sexual relationship, this person wanted you to be chained to them and only them, and chained to their energy. They probably got pretty far programming your subconscious mind to rely on them in certain ways, by like taking advantage of their dominance over you and their sexual relationship with you to influence you in ways that sort of turned you into their grasp or put you more into their power or kept you from fighting back, basically. This person probably used their own knowledge of trauma and their own trauma that they've been through, and then your trauma, they used your trauma and whatever trauma you confided in with them, and they specifically used your trauma and their knowledge of trauma to exploit you and manipulate you more. Like, they used your vulnerabilities and your insecurities to their advantage in this situation. Yeah. This person likes to feel big, so they will specifically pick out people smaller than them, whether in physical size or in confidence and willpower. They will specifically pick out people weaker than them or less knowledgeable than them in certain areas, or people who have been through a lot of trauma and are weaker in some ways to certain behaviors because of the trauma they've been through. And they will just specifically pick out those people who are more vulnerable to this manipulation. So why does this person think that they took Pao 2 for granted? Because I know that this person just likes to take whoever they can get from. So I don't know why they'd be like fucking having remorse for their own ways when they're kind of just a shit person. Okay, let me break this down because you're not gonna like it. I'm gonna do the sexual relationship first, romantic relationship next, and then the workplace relationship. So for the sexual relationship, this person thought they this person thought that they didn't like you like that. Like, they just saw you as another person to use, and if they had to use sex to get that advantage, then they were going to do it. But upon having sex with you, that changed. I feel like you touched their vulnerabilities and touched their inner child in a way that no one else has. And it's kind of silly because this person kind of just doesn't care who their victim is. They just use their victim. But specifically for you, for some reason, they really thought that they could just use you. They really thought that you were like the perfect target. But then for some reason, having sex with you and having that intimacy with you changed their mind. It made them feel vulnerable. It made them feel... basically, this person's sexual relationship with you brought up the trauma that they had been repressing, or the trauma that they had been continuing the cycle of, so that they could use other people and just continue that karmic cycle for themselves. But somehow you being the victim and the intimacy that they had with you brought up memories and feelings of their own trauma from early childhood. This person had a toxic mother or mother figure. This could have been a father, but they had more of a feminine energy. And this mother was a soul sucker. This was not someone who was fit to be a mother. This was someone who basically saw their children as one would see a shoe beneath their foot, an ant beneath their shoe, or like someone who experiments on bugs and like dissects them and takes them apart. Like, this is how this mother saw their child or their children. It was just in a very detached and unemotional and uncaring way, and really just only using their children for their own intentions of figuring out more about the world, or figuring out why children act this way. It's like this person was mentally fucked up in the head, who was this devil energy's mother. And that in no way excuses this person's continuously choosing to reinstigate that same karmic cycle, that same trauma pattern, and put it onto other people, project it onto other people. But this is where the source of their trauma it comes from, and it is the trauma that they were reliving upon having this intimacy with you. And basically, what they needed from their mother or their mother figure early in the development stage had a lot to do with nurturement, caring in general, caring beyond like logic, like caring unconditionally and not with conditions, I guess you could say. And so this is why this person seeks out victims who have a more nurturing vibe or have a more unconditional loving vibe, because basically this person saw you as their mother figure, and that hadn't happened before really in other sexual relationships in which they would find victims to manipulate. They hadn't before found someone, they weren't trying to find someone who acted like their mother. They just did it subconsciously, and with all their victims before, it didn't really affect them. But for some reason, their intimacy with you brought back all of the insecurities that they had as a child, because of what their mother was neglected to give them, that they needed to grow into a stable person. And it's like, it's weird because they would look at your face sometimes and they would imagine your mother or their mother, or they would it's such a weird energy. I'm having such trouble reading it, because at the same time they saw you as a child. Like, they literally saw you as someone they had to take care of, and because this person is a dominant energy, and so they choose to look for submissive energies to choose as their victims. And so they would see you as a child and see you as someone they had to take care of, because that's just how they see submissive people, as children. This person's kind of fucked up in the head, but they would see you as a child, but at the same time they kind of saw you as their mother and wanted and craved that nurturing from you. But at the same time, like, they would crave that nurturing from you, especially in the intimacy of like sexual relationships y'all had. But at the same time, they would take out on you the same things that they hated about their mother. Like, they would, because they saw you as their mother, they would treat you the same way they wished they could treat their mother for everything that they did to them, for everything that their mother did to them or their mother figure did. So this person could have had Gemini energy of sometimes like treating you well, or like treating you a certain way that didn't seem as bad, and then other times treating you in a completely like crazy psychotic way that made absolutely no sense. What's also messed up about this is that they didn't see you as a child as in like, oh, this is somebody I need to protect and take care of. They saw you as a child as in like, this person's a liability because I have to take care of them and baby them, when really you took well care of yourself. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like this person ended up more attached to you than just sexually, and this formed into sort of not explicitly romantic relationship, but I don't know. There was definitely feelings here involved because of the trauma that was being brought up, and because of the intimacy that they felt with you specifically that they had never felt with another victim. And so things could have been really intense for the both of you sexually. You could have triggered each other very intensely to have strong emotions all the time inside of your sexual relationship. It was always at an extremity. And they realize now that the reason they're having remorse and they're having feelings like, oh, I took Pal 2 for granted, instead of just discarding you like any of the other victims, is because you made them feel powerful in a way that nobody else has, because they could project their trauma onto you, and that made them feel more powerful because it made their inner child feel like they were dominating their mother, that they wish they could have done when they were a child, because they couldn't do that. They didn't have the power because they were a child. And so when they were intimate with you, it's like they could indulge in that darkness, and they could feed that part of themselves that no other victim that they had chosen had ever given them before. And this is all really messed up. Like, I'm really sorry you've been through this, pal, too, but this person needs a lot of help and a lot of therapy, and they need to be able to do that themselves. And they were just, instead of doing that, looking for victims so that they could continue their own trauma patterns. But they felt like they took you for granted, because now that you're gone, they don't have that. Any victim that they do find, they can't find that same intimacy of like, oh, this person's like a lot like my mother, and they couldn't find any other victims that made them feel that way that they felt with you. And I'm so sorry that this person projected that their own trauma with their mother onto you. I'm so sorry, because that's disgusting, and I've been through that too, and it's fucking disgusting, and I hate it. But regardless, this person feels like they took you for granted, because like you were basically the victim that they can't get over, and now it's like they can't move on. They can't move on from that. And that's probably why they've taken drastic actions to try and win you back or try and force you back with them, but it just isn't working. And they're like, the more that they try to find a victim that satisfies them the way that you did, because they felt like they could have that power over you, that they were winning back their trauma when really they were just instigating it over and over and over again. It's like they can't find that power again. They can't find that power anymore with a victim, and it bothers them. And they can't move on from that. And so they feel like they took you for granted because you're the only person who made them feel happy. Basically, you're basically because they could not only feel that intimacy with you, pal, too, because like you are like a good person, you were just a victim in this situation. But also, and like you were a good person to them, so they like that. They always like that from their victims. But specifically, they felt happy that they could put all of their anger and their dark side and trauma onto you. They could put it all onto you, and it would feel like their inner child would feel like they were taking back control again over their mother, which it's a pattern they keep repeating, trying to gain back that control by manipulating other people. But specifically with you, they had the intimacy of actually feeling like they could put that dark side all on you and regain that power again that they had lost when they were a child. And it specifically worked with you for some reason, that it felt the most satisfying because they could put all of their darkness onto you, and even that trauma from their own mother when they were a kid. And it just, they can't do it. They can't do it so fully with anyone else. They can't put every single bit of their dark side onto anyone else, and it bothers them, and they can't move on from it. And so that's why they're feeling like they took you for granted, because like you're the only person they could really put all of their darkness onto, and they could use to feel more powerful again because of their trauma. And it's like, that's how they feel like they took you for granted, because they wish they could have that power back, or that perceived power back of taking control of you, when really they didn't realize that their power was, they were getting it from another person. They didn't have that power within themselves. They felt like they had to get it from another person by putting their dark side onto other people. And so like this person probably still doesn't realize that, but that's the only reason they feel like they took you for granted, or that it's particularly hard that they lost you, is because you reflected their trauma with their mother in a way that no victim ever has or has since their separation with you. And yeah, so that's really fucked up. And really just stay away from this person because they are not going to heal anytime soon. This could be an energy vampire. Like, just please be careful if you're in an abusive sexual relationship, my friends. Like, nobody deserves that. No matter how much you can understand that how the person's trauma affects them, no matter how much you care about the person, you don't deserve that. And obviously they don't deserve to like keep reliving that trauma over and over again by using you. They don't deserve to keep using you because they need to learn to heal themselves. So separation is the best option for both parties in this situation, no matter how much it hurts or how much you wish you could help. But that message is very specific. I'm not going to do the romantic one because I got exhausted from doing the sexual one. You'll probably relate to the sexual. Basically, if you align with the same energy, just romantically and not sexually, it's the same concept, just not sexually, just in a romantic manner. So the same trauma wounds, taking power of another person, you're the only victim who made them feel that way, just not sexually, in a romantic way. And then we're going to go to the workplace energy. We're going to go to the workplace energy. This person feels like they took you for granted because you probably told this person off. What's funny is like you set boundaries so that because you realized what this person was doing in the workplace and the fact that they exploited people. And I feel like you told them off in some way, or you did something or called the authorities in a way where they were forced to look within and realize their own mistakes and judgments. Like, I'm getting the energy of like somebody literally spelling out to them exactly what they were doing, word for word, no sugarcoating. And it's like, hearing it like that, it's like, well, when you say it like that, but no, like actually, like when they're like, well, if you say it like that, they're like, they can't not think about kind of the horrible realities of it. And it just, I don't know. I feel like they're taking you for granted because they felt like you were the perfect, another pawn to put into their workplace to like exploit people and keep using them and just keep doing it. But then upon finding out about this person's agenda and whatever you did to stop that from happening or to separate yourself from that, ended up forcing this person to realize the horrible realities of what they were doing, whether you explained it to them or you called the authorities or somebody, and the authorities were like, these are exactly your charges. This is the reality of what you've done, and these are the consequences. And it's like it forced the person to face like all those years of actions and what those consequences are, and how bad those things actually, how bad exploiting somebody can actually be, not only for other people, but the consequences of doing that to other people. And it's just like, they feel like they took for granted the easy life of like not realizing how bad it was, just exploiting people to keep having power, having money, like, oh, whatever. And they didn't really think about it before, and they didn't think about it when they had you in the palm of their hands. But upon you setting that boundary and separating and whatever happened because of that, they no longer can have that easy life of like not having to think about it, being ignorant to their own consequences, being blind to their own darkness. And it's like they regret, now they're regretting it all, and they're feeling like they took for granted their own ignorance and their own blindness to their own actions, because now that they have to face it, it's grueling. Like, this person contemplates suicide. Oh my god, like, it is grueling for them, as they fucking deserve. And it's, it's less that they feel like they took you for granted, and more like they took for granted the time in which they could just do that without actually realizing the consequences. Because now, upon whatever you did to change that, they have to face the darkness, they have to face the consequences, and it haunts them. It genuinely haunts them, whether because they're actually having to face real life consequences from the authorities, or because they just never saw what they were doing before, but now for some reason they do, and they can't escape it. Like anytime they go to try and do that again and try to exploit somebody again, it's like that darkness hits them full force, and it's like staggering. They're like, this could be my kids, this could be my partner who I'm exploiting. Like, these are just people. It could have been me. And it's like realizing empathy. I don't know. But yeah, they feel like they took you for granted in the same way that they took every single person they exploited for granted, and that they used and pushed under the bus for granted, because now they don't have that anymore. They can't do that as easily as they did before, and it's not the same. It's like this person has nightmares every day. They can't sleep. They wake up shaking. It just plagues them. It plagues them genuinely. So they're definitely getting the karma they deserve. If some of you needed to hear that. With the Fool energy here, you definitely had some childish people in your life who were being foolish and let their foolishness ruin y'all's relationship, and now they feel like they took you for granted because they're being judged for it, and they're judging themselves, and they're like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be mature about these things? Like, I'm not going to be able to receive what I want unless I'm being mature and being logical and not just impulsively being a fool about everything. Yeah. And they're not only receiving judgment towards themselves, like they're not only judging themselves, but like the world around them, their work life, their social life, their family life, everything is starting to reflect why exactly this foolishness doesn't work, and why exactly that foolishness caused the end of their relationship with you. And so they feel like they also took for granted the ignorance that they had before they realized they were being a total fool and being immature. Like, it's less that they feel like they took you for granted, and more like they feel like they took for granted the ease of the relationship they had with you, where they could just be a fool and be immature, and they didn't even know about it. They were completely ignorant and blind to their own actions and the consequences of their actions, and now they can't go back. And it's like, same old story. It's weird for you, pal, too, that everybody is like less feeling like they took you for granted and feeling like they took their own ignorance for granted. Of like, I wish I could go back to being blissfully ignorant, because now I have to face the darkness of my own actions and the consequences of my actions, and it's scary. Like, it's actually terrifying. Yeah. But yeah, I'm feeling like this person just felt like this immature person, or these immature childish people, felt like you dealt with their bullshit. You took care of them even though they, acted a fool, and they feel like they took you for granted in that way, is that they wish they could go back to not only being blissfully ignorant to their own foolishness and their own immaturity, but the relationship with you where you would be humble, and you would be accepting, and you would be patient with them, because you thought that this person knew what they were doing, and that they just, I don't know how to explain it. You were at that point in the relationship, you were just trying to be patient with them because you thought they would understand. But then it's like you realized the whole time that person didn't even know what they were doing. They were blissfully ignorant to their own actions the whole time. And it was just horrifying for you to realize that you were supporting this person, and in reality you were just supporting their horrible decisions and their immaturity that led to such horrible things that happened between y'all. So this person feels like they took for granted the fact that you would take care of them and be so patient for them, and let them be the child they were, because now they can't go back to that as easily, and they're actually being forced to fucking mature, and it's not going well for them. They're constantly clutter-headed. They're just not ready for it, and it's just like, you need to grow up sometime, bro. You can't just keep fucking relying on other people. And then finally, with the Ace of Wands in reverse, for some of you, this could play into this devil energy of whoever this person was manipulating you sexually, but really this is just the playboys, the people who only wanted you for sex, the people who pretended to like you, and then they pretended to be your friend, pretended to be your partner, but secretly hated you behind your back. All of these people are the same in that they're realizing that you're actually a fucking awesome person, and that they kind of loved everything about you, and they kind of needed you and relied on your energy because they, like with the playboys, they feel like they took you for granted because you're actually really fucking hot in a way that they can't escape. They end up thinking about you all the time, but now that they don't have access to you, it's like all they can do is just keep you in their fucking spank bank. And it's disgusting. Like, this isn't just the male gender. When I say playboys, I mean anybody who is a player and, you know, uses other people in that way where they only care about sex. And it's just like, you are the type of person, pal, too, where it's never just sex. Intimacy always means it's always more than physical for you. So when these people tried to get in your good graces, they realized you had way more to offer than what they thought was just like your run-of-the-mill, whoever the fuck. And I don't know. Between all of these people who like only wanted you sexually or were pretending to like you just so they could get something out of you, it's like they ended up realizing that you had way more to offer, that you were on the next level in terms of how much you care for somebody and what intimacy means to you. It goes to a soul level for you. And then it's like these people all realize that, like, not only did they have the privilege to be in your energy for that, but you are way out of their league. You were way out of their league at the time. And it's like they feel like they took for granted the opportunity to be in your good graces, to be in your presence. Because at the time, they only saw you as like, oh, I hate this person. I have to act like that I like them just so they can fucking talk to me. Or it's like, I don't actually care about this person. I just want to fuck them. I just want to use their body. But it's like they realized that you were way more. It's like these people who secretly didn't like you actually realized that you were kind of a flawed person just like them. And they were really just, it's like they realized that the things they didn't like about you were just things they didn't like about themselves. And they feel like they took for granted the opportunity to be your friend because you're actually a really real person. And they realized that as they were talking to you more and more. They're like, I actually kind of like this person. They're kind of a real one. They kind of like aren't afraid to be vulnerable and show their flaws. But then like you saw that they were secretly, you know, talking bad on you behind your back, or like wishing you bad and not wishing you well. And now they're like, fuck, I wish I could have that back. I wish I could redo everything I did. I wish I didn't act like that to them. I wish I had never like pretended to like them. And then as for the people who only wanted to use your body, it's like they realized that it's way more. You were, not only were you way out of their league, but like what you gave them in the bedroom, or what you would have given them in the bedroom, was like way like on a deep soul level kind of bullshit that they couldn't even begin to comprehend. And it's like, I wish I had another chance. I wish I could go back and like tell myself not to fuck this up, because it's like something about intimacy with you specifically, pal, too, is different. It makes people feel seen. It makes people feel like you're actually touching their soul. And it's like these people who only wanted you for sex, or that they didn't, or were only pretending to like you, realize that they actually like you a lot, and more than just like physically, but like on every level. And it completely confounded them, because as soon as they realized that was the same time that you realized they only wanted you to use for a specific purpose. They didn't actually care about you. So you pushed them off. But now they're all feeling like, I took that for granted. I had the perfect opportunity because this person's so fucking hot, and I never realized that. And I took it for granted. Because your intimacy is on another level, pal, too. Which is probably why this fucking mean energy vampire, fucking manipulator, fucking instigating trauma fucking bullshit person was so hung up on their intimacy with you and whatever the fuck else, and how it brought back their trauma. Because your intimacy brings out in people the very things that they wish that they could be seen, the very things that they wish could feel seen. And because you care about people deeply, and so you always think of intimacy as like, you know, on that such a deep level that like I see you for who you really are. And that's why this fucking energy vampire craved that for me, because they wanted somebody to see that darkness within them and just like keep, you know, doing it or whatever. And then these fucking playboys or whatever, these people who only wanted you or pretended to want you, for like their own selfish reasons, ended up realizing you were way deeper than they thought, because the intimacy they felt just talking to you completely changed them. Like, I'm feeling heat flashes across my body. Like, you intimately touch people just by having a conversation with them. And like, that's probably why this manipulator got stuck on you, and that's why all these players are so much like, oh, why did I miss that perfect opportunity? This person was so hot. So yeah, honestly, these people are all fucking getting what they deserved, taking advantage of you or taking you for granted. Like, fuck them. You're fucking awesome, pile 2. Don't let anybody take advantage of your beautiful ass intimacy, because you have the special power of seeing someone for their soul. And you don't deserve none of these fucking dark ass people only wanting you for stupid fucking reasons, fucking control you, fucking bullshit. No. You are worth way more than that. You are on another level from these fucking idiots who took you for granted. Hi, Power 3. Power 1 and 2 were pretty long. Hopefully this won't be too long. You chose these astrology dice. I'll do them for each card I pull. Who took my Power 3 for granted? Spirit, give me the energy on who took my Power 3 for granted. Who took my Power 3 for granted? Okay. We have the 3 of Swords, 5 of Swords, and the Ace of Goblets. So probably have a water sign, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, who took you for granted. Heavy on the Cancer, Scorpio. This was somebody who took you for granted was somebody who you had a crush on, or even like a friendship crush where like you wanted to be their friend and you offered, like, hey, you like reached out and you were like, hey, I kind of like you, or hey, I've seen you around, I kind of want to be your friend. And this person kind of rejected you or ghosted you, or it's like maybe they pretended to like reciprocate at first, but then like you could tell they like didn't really care, or they were kind of like annoyed by you, and you could have been really hurt by this because you kind of maybe been working up the courage to ask this person out or ask them to be your friend, and they kind of just didn't give the same energy. They just acted like they didn't really care. And I don't know. This person, I feel like you realize that this person's actually a bit prideful because of the way they were acting towards you. And you're very right, honestly. They are sort of wrapped up in their own world of like, oh, I have all these things going on. But they're also kind of prideful of like, you know, I'm only gonna let certain people have access to my energy who I deem as worthy, who I deem as cool as me. So it seems like this person kind of sized you up and then decided like that you weren't cool enough or something, and so they like maybe pretended to like you a little bit, but then kind of ghosted you after that, or just put barely any effort into it. I don't know. But this person's realizing they took you for granted because, well, first of all, they took you for granted in general because you were being genuine. Like, you had a genuine cup of love to offer. You just wanted a relationship with this person. You just thought they were cool. But this person, you ended up realizing they were kind of prideful. So they just took for granted the fact that you were being a genuine and that you just wanted a genuine relationship out of them and you didn't mean any harm. And they kind of just threw that away, like they didn't really care. Like, it's like the energy where they're like, oh, I could be friends with anyone I want, so why would I really want to be with you? Or like, oh, I have so many offers from all these people, so why should I really care about you? Like, what do you have to offer me that anybody else can't give to me? So it's more like, I don't know, this person is kind of prideful and like they only see people as like, see people's value of like, how much can you give to me versus like, instead of just like seeing relationships as something you both mutually build. So yeah, that person just took for granted the fact that you were being genuine and you actually like thought they were cool and you cared about their reaction. And why I feel like they probably feel like they took you for granted is because I think they're realizing now that like, well, not really, they're not realizing this, but yeah, no. I don't think this person realizes the fact that they took you for granted. I think they're just a prideful person. They don't know a good thing when they see it. So this person did take you for granted because you were offering something genuine, which is probably more than most of their fucking people that they surround themselves with can say. But hey, that was their choice. If they want to turn away a completely fucking genuine offering, then they can just have the fake shit. Who cares? Because if they still haven't realized the fact that they were being a dick or that they took you for granted, then they're just a prideful person. They didn't deserve you in the first place. Another energy I'm feeling with this Three of Swords is somebody who hurt you in the past is realizing they took you for granted. This is somebody who deeply hurt you. Like, this is a feminine energy who deeply hurt you, maybe backstabbed you, or just was being emotionally immature. Like, they were caring more about their own emotions in the situation instead of like how it would feel for you when something bad was happening, and they were just letting their own mind overthink to the point where they would like blame you or assume stuff about you that wasn't true, just because they were in their head and overthinking, and they were just more concerned with protecting themselves in the situation, so they were easily just gonna assume that like you were the enemy when you didn't even do anything. They were just scared of being hurt, so they just like hurt you when you never did anything to deserve that. They just were in their head overthinking, and they started assuming all these things about you that were based on nothing but their own overthinking thoughts. And I don't know, y'all had a good relationship prior to this. It was probably a really close friend to you. Yeah, this is like a really, really close friend. And so drama went down, and this person just immediately assumed that you would immediately assume the worst of you before you'd even took a step or took an action. So like, obviously they didn't think much of you if they were just going to assume the worst of you to the point where they would push you away like that and hurt you just to protect their own hide. Like, obviously they didn't think much of you to begin with if they just assumed that you would hurt them or something. Like, and that's probably what hurt the most for you about this. It was like y'all were really close friends, but this person kind of just didn't actually think of you. Come here. Come here. They didn't actually, like, I don't know, care that much about you. They kind of easily just gave into the darkness of like, oh, this person might hurt me, or oh, I'm scared that this might happen, or, you know, what if so-and-so does this, or so-and-so this happens. And so they just push you away and hurt you in that way. But it hurts the most because like you didn't do anything to deserve that. They were just all in their own head about it. Come here. Oh. come here. And this person, unlike the other person that I just said, this person definitely realizes that they took you for granted because we have Aries and we have Aries Sun here. It landed on Aries and then the Sun, because this one's signs and this one's planets. Hi, Remy. He wants to be part of the reading. You feeling snotty? Come here. Got you. But yeah, so basically, this person realizes they were being impulsive and like the fact that they just assumed things would go wrong, and so they threw you under the bus or pushed you away really fast without really like acknowledging the fact that like you that you never did anything for them to assume that about you. They just sort of like let their own and overthinking thoughts like control their impulsive actions. But you were really close with this person, and this person is realizing that like they lost that friendship because they just assumed the worst of you, and it hurt both of you a lot. It probably hurt you a lot more, Pile 3, just because it's kind of betrayal of like, I never deserved that. We were such close friends. Why would you do that? But in the end, like, no matter how close y'all were, if this person did that to you, that goes to show their own true colors of like the fact that they would be impulsive like that and let that happen and be so quick to assume that of you. But this person is also feeling like a lot of pain with the Three of Swords here, and feeling like, oh, so much pain, because now that they don't have this close friendship that they had with you, they aren't feeling like, they're feeling even more lost in the situation. Like whatever the situation was that made them start overthinking and then like throw you under the bus, pushing you away made everything worse for them and made them have no support really, because you were kind of their only close friend. And also it just made them feel lost in the situation because like they had no support and they didn't know what to do. They were just overthinking even more, 'cause as soon as they pushed you away, they were like, well, then everybody else, if I had to push my closest friend away, then everybody else must be bad too. And so they're just stuck in like this overthinking victim complex mind where they thought everybody is out to get them. And it's just, they're realizing that they took y'all's friendship for granted because now they don't have that close friendship anymore and they don't have that support that you gave them. And they're also realizing that you never did anything for them to assume that of you. And they feel kind of guilty. And like, they keep trying to justify their own actions in their head by being like, oh, well, Pile 3 was always sort of a bad person, or I never really liked Pile 3 in the first place. But really it's just them trying to mask their own guilt for the fact that you were always a good friend to them. But they were just, you know, I guess not completely healed or still having karmic patterns to where they would like overthink to the point where they would just assume all this stuff about you, or that they would, I don't even know, like, it's their fault for assuming that about you and being so impulsive to just be like, push you away. Like, and I don't know, they miss that friendship now that they realized it was all for nothing, and they feel really guilty. And even though they keep trying to justify it in their head, none of the justifications they come up with feel really solid or reasonable. So they just sit and wallow in their own guilt of like, oh, I took this person for granted. I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just overthinking, I swear. But like, they were taking you for granted the whole time, because if they were just so easily going to assume that of you, and something that insignificant would ruin y'all's entire friendship when y'all were so close, it just goes to show that they never thought highly of you in the first place. And they were taking you for granted the whole time because they pushed you away so easily. You must not have meant much to them in the first place. So that's what messed up, is like they're all sitting here being all guilty and being like, I missed that friendship, but they never actually cared about you in the first place, because they're still trying to justify them to themselves, their own actions, and be like, oh, well, pile 3 did this and pile 3 has these flaws. Like, you're just a bad person. You pushed away your only friend, and now you're trying to, you know, victimize yourself or make yourself feel less guilty about it. Like, you took someone for granted and now you get those consequences. I don't know what else you expect. But yeah, this person just took for granted your friendship, really, and just you in general, because they so easily threw you under the bus and pushed you away without thinking about the fact that you had never done anything to deserve that. You had never done anything for them to think that you would hurt them. It was just their own overthinking and their own perceived superiority of themselves over you. Yeah, you probably get a lot of friends or like people in your life who think they're better than you for some reason, pile 3. Because like with this Ace of Goblets here, this person, Aries or Mars and Virgo. Yeah, this person sexually just likes the attention, and like, or even with friendships, like this person just likes the attention of having people take action towards them, or having people like confess like, oh, I would like to be friends with you, or I would like to date you, but they kind of rejected you or didn't put much effort into you just because they thought they were better than you. They like literally thought they were better than you. And so did this person. Like this person who's supposed to be your closest friend secretly thought they were better than you the whole time, because they perceived some flaws in you as inferior, and when they were sitting there overthinking, they perceived those flaws that they were secretly just projections of their own shadow side as like reasons why they should push you away, or that they shouldn't trust you or whatever. So like whatever the reason was that they pushed you away, they secretly thought that about you the whole time, and they thought they were better than you in that regard. So yeah. And then with the 5 of Swords here, the 5 of Swords here, somebody who used to be really mean to you. This could be like a bully, or somebody who like was more popular than you and they just like took advantage of that over you and like used you or for some reason, or like someone in your friend group who just wasn't a nice, nurturing person. They were kind of mean and rude a lot, and they were probably especially hard on you out of all the friends in the friend group. And it's just like, or this could be in a workplace environment. This person was kind of a bully, but it's like something has happened to them. Something has happened to them, like a death in the family, or someone close to them died. Like something really major like that happened to them that completely changed their view of life. And they're realizing how they were particularly hard on you all these years because of all the insecurities they had within themselves, and they would pick out you because you were like the embodiment of those insecurities that they didn't like about themselves. And it's like, I just feel shame, like full body shame, like heat waves of shame going over my body. Like this person feels like they took for granted their friendship of you because they would just constantly tease you, bully you, pick on you, all this other shit. This could also be in the workplace, where they would just like take advantage of you, take advantage of their position of superiority over you in the workplace, or the fact that they were more popular in the workplace. And then, you know, when they ended up going through this traumatic event and realizing that like, how bad of a person they were being, it's like they really feel bad and feel shameful about how they treated you in particular, because they would especially pick on you, or they would especially take advantage of you. And it like haunts them more than anything else does, because you were like a really good person to them. You're really patient with them, and they were just constantly hard on you and constantly giving you a hard time. And now that they've actually been through something tough, they're realizing that, hey, wait a minute, it can actually be this hard for other people. And they're feeling like a piece of shit, honestly. And they know that there's nothing they can do to take back what they've done. Not only to all those other people they would bully and pick on, but especially to you, because they were especially hard on you. And they would especially give you a hard time because they didn't like whatever it is about you that they perceived as a flaw within themselves. So yeah, this is like a friend who is more popular than you, or somebody in the work environment who had an advantage or superiority over you. But they were secretly just insecure and unhealthy within themselves. And it took a major fucking life event, like the death of a person close to them, for them to realize that they were being a complete dickhead, and how that affects other people, how much that affects other people, and how bad that is. So yeah. And they feeling like they took you for granted because you were patient with them. You were just like, it's just workplace bullshit. I'm not gonna like fight them. Or like, you're like, they just think they're popular. I'm just gonna like let them ride their high horse. Like, and you didn't give them a hard time back. You were just like, fine, if you're gonna give me a hard time, then like, so be it. If like you feel like you need to up your own ego in that way, then I'm not gonna let you like get a rise out of me. I'm just gonna keep being me and like whatever. And you did your best to separate yourself from this person as well. It could have been like a situation where like they were just part of your friend group and you didn't want to lose the friend group, or it could have been a situation where it was just in the workplace and you needed to keep your job, so you just handled it and you like were patient with it, and you just over time you just stopped caring because you just got used to the fact that person is just a bully. But this person realizes how patient you were with them and how much you didn't let them get a rise out of you, and it just breaks them. It breaks it because like the more you would be patient with them, the more they would try to fucking gear into you. And they are looking back on all those memories, like especially at night, they'll be sitting in bed thinking about all of the most embarrassing, shameful ass shit that they did to you, to bully you or to undermine you, and they just feel so embarrassed and they can't stop thinking about it. So they feel like they took for granted the fact that like you were being so patient with them. They took that for granted and instead decided to keep bullying you harder or undermining you even more, instead of realizing the fact that your patience was a blessing and that they should just like stop giving you such a fucking hard time. And so now they just feel like a piece of shit all around because they have like this death going on in their lives, or whatever major event going on in their lives that has just completely changed all of their plans for the future. And it's just, they can't be the bully that they once were. They just can't do it anymore, and it haunts them. Especially what they did to you haunts them because it like constantly comes up in their mind for whatever reason. I'll roll the dice for this. We have Gemini, and Mars again. So this person was probably the type of person to act super nice in front of their superiors, or in front of people that they thought were cool, but then like undermine people that they thought were inferior to them. Again, with this superiority complex that people have around you, and then thinking that you're inferior to them, Pal 3. Like, this person I was just talking about who bullied you is the type of person who would act super nice and super people-pleasing to everyone they perceived as superior, but then take all of their anger and frustration out on anyone who they thought was inferior. And they really thought you were inferior out of everyone in the friend group or everyone in the workplace. So they would be particularly hard on you all the time, and they would keep being more hard on you the more they like the less that they would get out of rise out of you would just frustrate them. And it's just disgusting how all these people think they're fucking superior to you. And then, but these same people are realizing they took your energy for granted and took your patience for granted. Like, who was secretly the smarter, wiser, more mature person this entire time? Who was it? Was it these people who are just now realizing that they're pieces of shit? Is it really them? I mean, they really like to think so. They really like to sit there and try to justify their own actions, but, you know. But you're a really patient person, Power 3. Like, I really admire your ability to just not let things get to you and be patient with everybody, because everybody constantly thinking that they're better than you and then realizing later on that they're just fucking prideful, you know, and that they only thought they were better than you because of their own perceived flaws within themselves. And it's fucked up, but it's cool to me, Power 3, that you're able to be so patient with that bullshit, because it's not easy to constantly feel undermined by people who are secretly worse than you are because they think that they're superior to other people when you don't, Power 3. So it must suck feeling undermined by people who, you know, think they're so cool and think that they have a right to push you down and make you feel less than. But honestly, it's turned you into such this strong person, Power 3. The fact that you've been able to deal with that all these years, it's made you such the strong person that, like, nobody could ever compare to the resolve you have, to the strength you have to deal with these and to believe in your own self-worth despite constantly being undermined, despite all these people constantly showing you that they think that you're inferior to them. You're amazing, Power 3.